It's a beautiful morning and welcome to Good Morning Africa here on Housing TV Africa. It's a pleasure to have you once again join us on another interesting episode of Good Morning Africa. I am Mimi Tondo.
And I'm Chris Jacob. It's a pleasure to have you join us on the program today.
So Chris, how are you doing
Well,
today?
well, I'm good. Of course, I woke up invigorated, having this, assurance that Nigeria gradually, will be getting it right when it comes to, certain issues that pertains to the impact, economic impact of, its citizens. And my concern, before now, we used to have the upper class, middle class, and the lower class.
Yeah.
But now we seem not to have the middle class any longer. It's just the upper class and the lower class. And the distribution of these resources, seem not to be reaching, to those who are in DNA, talking about the low income earners, those who are below the ladder. But I think the policies now of the government, even though it's biting harder, but has a futuristic, tendencies of turning the tides and changing the narrative.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So we just pray and hope for a better Nigeria. And we
Absolutely.
pray that it comes very, very shortly because a lot of things have been going on and a lot of policies have been put in place to ensure that every Nigerian have a better place. Like
Absolutely.
the current government, which is bring policies like the
Home ownership.
home ownership,
Yeah.
affordable home ownership, and it's ensuring that education and other sector too
Yeah.
are being put in place, like the NEL fund where the students get loan, are
Oh,
able to
sure.
get loan and then go to school and other things too. And I believe that even security, the insecurity challenges too
Absolutely,
by
will be a thing of the past.
yes,
And most
exactly.
importantly, it is critical also to note that the government should have a social safety net so that if you have a comprehensive data of, those who are in DNA, remember sometimes ago, say Nigeria is the headquarters of the poor.
Yeah.
The Nigerians are multidimensionally poor. So if you have a comprehensive data and a very strong policy in terms of social safety net, I think will emulate what other countries are doing, where an ordinary citizen do not need to go to bed on an empty stomach. A citizen do not need to sleep on the street because he have no shelter. Gradually, and we'll get to that point, and then we'll indeed regain that our status as giant of Africa.
Okay. In case you're just joining us, this is still Good Morning Africa, and right now we will take a short break where we'll bring you the I Can Make It segment. Stay tuned. Good Morning Africa will be back after the I Can Make It segment.
A very warm, sunshiny, promising, excellent, delicious, confident good morning to all our viewers out there. I trust you all slept well, and I'm here again to talk to you about something that's very, very precious. And I want to talk about value. VALUE, value. Now, just walk along with me for a second, right? Let's say a bottle of water costs 200 naira in the market. And you go to a hotel and the cost is 500 naira. And probably go to the airport and it's probably 700 naira. Now, you would wonder, it's the same content, it's the same size, but why the difference in price? You know what? It is the value that has been placed on that environment over time that has given it that stamp of approval to place such amount of value on its products or content, as it were. Now, let's bring that closer to home, okay? You, as a human being, full of versatility, full of ideas, full of so much beauty and worth. Just imagine how much value you place on yourself. And guess what? There's no price tag to that. It is priceless. So if you place a certain amount of value on yourself, within your given geographical location, within your environment, within your immediate space, that is how much people around you will value you. So, whatever you put in is what you're going to give out. After all, there's a computer terminology, garbage in, garbage out, GIGO. And if you spend your time putting in what matters, when you meet other people, you're networking or chit-chatting with friends or family or strangers, it won't take long before they know where to place you, okay? Because the average human being knows what to say, knows when to say what he or she says. And trust me, as human beings, we're probably 70-80% intentional about what we say, what we do. If you actually place value on value, if you place worth on worth, you'll tread the path of making yourself a better person. Remember what I said about the water bottle? Still the same size, still the same content, but the price goes higher and higher depending on where the bottle is placed or sold. So when the time comes for you to display yourself, probably in front of an audience, in front of a committee, in front of a program, wherever that is, people sitting and watching and listening to you, what is that value they're going to place on you? It is vital, it is important that we take our time to groom ourselves so that we can have a long-lasting impression that is valuable, that matters in the long run. We need to build ourselves. We need to surround ourselves with things and people that matter. Because in the long run, you matter. I matter. In the long run, people desire value around them. There are a lot of people walking around clueless. They don't know what to make of themselves. But here you are taking out time to pour into yourself, taking out time to better yourself, taking out time to place value on yourself. Priceless value. It could come with a price tag sometimes. Before you misunderstand, this is what I mean. For instance, if you're a public speaker, if you're a master of ceremony, definitely you need to be paid for the job. Okay? So, it depends on how much you prepare yourself. That could also determine the negotiation brought to the table. I just want to encourage us. What time do you spend? What amount of time do you spend in putting into yourself things that really count and things that really matter? So that at the end of the day, you showcase yourself and people are like, wow, no wonder he isolated himself for so long. No wonder she isolated herself for so long. Because if you want to place value and worth on yourself, you need to be willing to take out time and set yourself apart to build your inner man, to build yourself. And that way, people will be willing to identify with you. What are you going to do with this piece of information given to you this morning? I just want to say, place value on yourself. You can never regret it. Until next time, keep on winning. Bye.
Visit Housing TV Africa on YouTube and click on the subscribe button. Subscribe to Housing TV Africa to stay updated on latest happenings in Nigeria's housing sector. Follow our social media pages, like and share our posts. On Facebook, Thousand TV Africa. On Twitter, Thousand TV Africa. Instagram, Thousand TV Africa. Join the conversation and keep up with latest housing updates.
All right, you're welcome back. If you just tuned in, you're watching Good Morning Africa. Now, what to expect on the show today, of course, we'll be having a conversation on the rising cases of security in Nigeria and what is the way forward. In a pretty short time, I will be joined, or rather, we will be joined by Dr. Said Owonikoko. He's from Center for Peace and Security Studies, Modibo Adama University. A very good afternoon to you, Dr. Said Owonikoko from Center for Peace and Security Studies, Modibo Adama University. Thank you for joining us on Good Morning Africa.
Thank you very much for having me.
Quickly, I'd like to get your take on, the current war against insurgency in Nigeria. You can recall that since 2009, Nigeria has been confronted with rising cases of insecurity of different sort, starting with the Boko Haram insurgency that ravaged almost northeastern part of Nigeria. Now, ever since, successive governments have come and gone, trying to nip this in the bud, but unfortunately, we are still confronted with this battle. How will you describe the battle so far, as in the war prescribing rising cases of insecurity in Nigeria, which include banditry that has ravaged the fringes of the northwestern part of Nigeria?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me once again. We talk about terrorism and insurgency.
Yeah.
It's always very difficult to nip in the bud, especially when it starts. And this is because it is something that is usually triggered, driven, and sustained by ideology. For example, in the Northwest, that is driven largely, by economy. So it's usually a very difficult problem to deal with insurgency related to or driven largely by ideology. And that is why insurgency has remained very intractable in Nigeria. And if we really look at what is happening, it will look like insurgency is even multiplying on daily basis in Nigeria, because on several occasions, I think we have had 2 or 3 lists of the insurgent group that we have in Nigeria. And this is actually making it looking like something that is quite going to be endless for Nigeria. And that is unfortunate.
Okay, Kyle, let me ask you. So what is the major underlying causes of insecurity? Is it political factors? Is it weak institutions, or is it poverty? And how has unemployment and growing youth population contributed to the problem?
Okay, I think it would be wrong for us to link proliferation of terrorism and insurgency in Nigeria, or the wider security context in Nigeria, to a monocausal factor. I think that there are a lot of factors responsible for it. So we have issue that you have talked about, which is poverty. Poverty, plays is very significant role. Statistics of Nigeria, you will see that most of the areas that are known to harbor very large number of poor people are also areas that are suffering from insecurity. But a lot of people have also said that poverty that we have in all of those places is coming as part of the consequences of insecurity in those places, and not really as a cause. And then the identity crisis, particularly around ethnicity and religion, has also driven, issues around insecurity and particularly terrorism. So the point I'm trying to make, is that a lot of factors are playing a significant role in, the security situation, the security crisis Nigeria is facing today. Not only poverty. And say, people that are joining the insurgents group or people that are joining the bandit groups are people that are poor. What about those people that are poor, within those contexts, and they are not joining the insurgent group, they are not joining the bandit group?
Dr. Said, I'm particular about solving the problem, in as much as you hardly can find any country that has solved completely the issue of insurgency, but at least it can be reduced to a minimal level. In recent times, the Directorate of, or the DSS has raised an alarm that ISWAP is, planning to attack Kogi State as well as, Ondo State. And that's the report the DSS has given in recent times. And my concern is that we continue to see the proliferation of different armed groups in Nigeria, terrorizing almost all the regions in the country. Now, this is not a conventional war, it's a asymmetric warfare. How do we get these confronted? Because say the best way to defend is to attack. What should the Nigerian armed forces be doing in this regard? First of all, it is an asymmetric warfare, and as a matter of fact, are there rules of engagement? Should we be observing the rules of engagement? What Nigerians want is that flush these people out once and for all. What should we be doing as a government?
Okay, thank you very much. I think that the major problem we have in this country is that we always think that military alone is sufficient to end terrorism or insecurity. We have just said that socioeconomic factors are playing a lot of roles in why we have security challenges in Nigeria today. The insurgents and terrorists, but it will not kill the idea behind it. That's why, for example, we will say that, thousands of Boko Haram members have been killed, but Boko Haram and ISWAP keep getting members. So military will not kill the ideology. Gun will not kill the ideology. It will only kill so I think that we have emphasized more of a military approach to addressing this. Why the non-military approach? Why the non-military approach has not been sufficiently perused? Somebody is going to say, but we have the amnesty program. For me, I've done a lot of research on the amnesty program, and I think that I can say, and a lot of studies have also pointed it out, that the amnesty program is not winning the way it ought to win. Even if we look at
what other strategies do you think Nigeria can adopt?
What did you say?
What other strategies aside that can adopt, aside the military action and
the amnesty program, right? Aside the amnesty program, and then negotiating with we need to address issues around poverty, for example. We need to address political issues in Nigeria, like the issue around Christian-Muslim relationship. We need to address issue of justice. All the socio-economic issues in the country, because studies have shown that there is a correlation, direct linkage between all of these issues in Nigeria and radicalization into extremism. Because all of these things, the insecurity we talk about in Nigeria, all of them are fallout of violent extremism. So we need to address all of this. Nigeria still has the highest number of people living in poverty. And to cap it all, most of them, about 80% of the people that are poor are youths. who are not doing anything. So how do we begin to engage them? How do we begin to engage them? How do we begin to address religious grievance, for example? How do we begin to address issue of historical grievance? For example, there are some communities, you have a lot of communities, for example, in Nigeria now, where they have, developed themselves into a military cohort or a police cohort with a lot of armory for them to provide security for themselves. And I think that this is another set of violent extremism awaiting us in the future. So the point I'm trying to make is that beyond, amnesty that looks like we are begging the insurgents, and then the use of military operation, to me, that looks like, we are playing into the hands of the insurgent, because look at what is happening, the effort of, that's why, for example, ISWAP is making a lot of advance into the south, because now ISWAP has attacked most of the military outposts, in the north and in the Lake Chad, and they have a lot of weapons for them to advance themselves into other areas in Nigeria.
But Dr. Said, let's not forget the fact that most of these assailants, most of these criminals are not citizens of Nigeria. Some of them have their way through the Sahel, taking advantage of the porosity of our borders. And that's the more reason why it's something, of concern to Nigerians. And me in particular, because I recall I've been on the front line 2014 at the fears of Boko Haram. And most of the persons who participated in that, from their looks, you could tell that it's either they are from Central Africa or they are from Mali and some, African countries taking advantage of the porosity of our borders. Now, in dealing with this issue, you talked about amnesty earlier, and I also understand that there is a kinetic approach and a non-kinetic approach, so dealing with these non-state actors. But I've also realized that the non-kinetic approach does not always work, just like what we saw. Kinetic approach, which also has to do with, repentant Boko Haram, engaging them in an amnesty, as well as, having negotiations with bandits and, terrorists. I have a problem with that, because this is not the first time I've seen where the government, in particular, negotiated with, Boko Haram. And in turn, this meant so-called repentant Boko Haram, in turn, picked up weapons again and continue perpetrating their evil act. I've also seen in northwestern part of Nigeria, in Zamfara in particular, where, the government of a particular local government had to sit and negotiate with bandits. And today, as we speak, the bandits are roaming about, the cities with AK-47 in their hands. So you negotiate with bandits, and you did not strip them of their weapon. And I think it's just a retrogression in such kind of situation, because they're still working freely with AK-47s in the city, and you say you've negotiated with them. Does negotiation with terrorists work?
It looks like you are begging the insurgents. It looks more like you are begging the insurgents.
If you negotiate with them, right? Negotiating with
yes.
them looks like you're begging the insurgents, isn't it?
But that's not the socioeconomic, factor that I'm talking about. I'm saying it should be addressed from the, from the grassroots. For example, we know that these insurgents recruit from the people, and when they recruit from the people, they recruit from among the lumpens. So what is Nigeria doing, for example, to make it difficult for them to recruit from the lumpens? It means creating more socioeconomic, opportunities for the people at the grassroots to be able to, when they have good socioeconomic opportunities, it makes it difficult for them to, for them to get a large pool of people from which they can recruit. That's the point I'm making. I am in support, tacitly, I am in support of the amnesty program, especially the one that was done in the Northeast. But in giving amnesty or in introducing what we call DDR, disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration, There are a lot of things that need to be done. It's not to be carried out in a way that it will look like you are begging them. And this is why all of these are not working, because it looks like though you are trying to beg them by not doing the right thing that you are supposed to do. Why I support it in the first place was because there were a lot of people that were forcefully conscripted into the insurgent group. If you understand that, you will know that for those that were forcefully conscripted, of course, it is not by their will. There were also those who were born into the insurgent group, while they were in the bush. All of those people didn't join the group by their own, they didn't join by their, it is not by their own knowing that they joined the group, but they found their way in one way or the other in the group. For those kind of people, they need a kind of opportunity that we can give them to come back to the community. So that's the thing. But not somebody who has committed a lot of atrocities, killed this, killed that, and then you now say, okay, he's coming back to the community. Even if he's coming back to the community, yes.
Dr. Said, let's get this right. The modus operandi of Boko Haram in the northeastern part of Nigeria is slightly different from the operations of the bandits, in northwest as well as the north central. I understand that the bandit, of course, as a matter of fact, apart from killing and maiming, they abduct massively without any ideological base, just like that of the Boko Haram. The approach that Nigerian government should take on the bandits now, are you also, are you also calling for this amnesty program, to be extended to the bandits who have, brought the Northwest under siege, as well as Kwara State, Ondo State, Niger State, as a matter of fact, sacking communities. So there is a slight difference if you just oppose their modus operandi.
I am not calling for, I'm just explaining the nature of the Northwest amnesty program. I mean, Northeast amnesty program. I'm not even talking about the Northwest now. For me, in the Northwest, I am not in support of, I think from my recent counting, there has been a total of about 6 or 7 amnesty programs granted to the bandits in the Northwest. And all of them have relapsed back. In fact, the last one that happened, before they even, in fact, the way it was even carried out shows that it looks more or less like government was begging the insult, because they came even armed to the negotiation table.
That's what I'm talking about.
So now,
they came armed to the negotiation table. So it looks more or less like government is begging. In fact, let me tell you, that is signposting the failure of the state.
That's it.
It is
so
signposting
it looks like it just a sponsored thing.
Yeah,
because
so you cannot maintain peace like that. You cannot maintain. In actual fact, it is signposting that the state is failing.
So can I cut you short, sir? Yeah, you made mention of this amnesty thing. Now, you said they came to the bargain ground with some weapons. Isn't it obvious that these people have sponsors aside them, just them? Because I believe this fight they can't just take up it on themselves. And when you look at the poor people, most of them cannot afford AK-47. So don't you think it's a sponsored thing? So instead of granting amnesty to the ones you have on ground, why not go deep to find out those behind this insecurity thing, this insurgency, the ISWAP, and all of that?
Thank you, my sister. I think that what I want to say about that is that beyond saying that they are even sponsor, I think that I will prefer to say that the nature of banditry in Northwest is rather complex. And by complexity, I mean that it involves a lot of people sponsoring them and even terrorists also working along with them. You know that from Boko Haram, sometimes around 2012, is now operating around Northwest and North Central. So a lot of, and there are even reports that Boko Haram has affiliated itself to some of the, bandit group in the Northwest and North Central. So it's a complex terrain of insecurity. Yes, there may be some people that are sponsoring, and that's why, the way government is responding to insecurity in the Northeast, for example, government need a much more concentrated effort in the Northwest and North Central, because it is a conjoinment of a lot of security challenges, banditry, terrorism, all of those things mixed together in one. And I'm not seeing government address it the way it ought to be addressed. Government is still thinking that it is largely something that is driven by economy. And that is why, because I heard some reports sometimes, even though it cannot be verified, that even sometimes government try to, pacify them by giving them some amount of money. Yes, nobody has been able, a particular politician said it, a lot of people, glossed over it, but that may be true. It may be true. You cannot be throwing money at bandits and terrorists and you expect that will make them leave their criminality. It may not work like that. So this is why we said that, and that goes to our first statement, first question, when we say, this is not only about poverty, it's also about politics. We play politics with most of these security challenges. And that is why, they have become so difficult for us to address today. Conflict trap theory has let us understand that when you allow things, security challenges, violent conflicts to fester for a long period of time, you become trapped in that kind of situation. And at that point in time, it becomes very difficult for you to be able to address it.
I agree with you, Dr. Said. The complexity of, insurgency in Nigeria is gone beyond, normal or simple comprehension. You can recall a couple of months ago or a year ago, the United Arab Emirates, listed names of Boko Haram or terrorism financiers in Nigeria. And they gave it to Nigerian government. And we are yet to hear any action, taken by Nigeria's government in terms of punitive measures to deter others from further participating in financing terrorism. So I have an issue with that, first of all. Then another question, because I like to intertwine the question for you. Another one is the purchase of the A-29 Super Tucano jet. Reason behind the purchase of this jet is to end terrorism in Nigeria. The regime of late Muhammadu Buhari, immediate past administration, of course, budgeted huge amount of money in billions, to procure this A-29 Tucano jet. But we have not seen the efficiency or the effectiveness of the use of these jets. I don't know, is there rules of engagement that undermine the use of these A-29 Tucano jet to end this war once and for all? Or is a deliberate action, so that some are using the war to milk out as a cash cow for themselves? I know you have a busy schedule, but just respond to this before we end the conversation.
It's okay. Number one, yes, air power is very, very important in confronting terrorism and insurgency, and all forms of criminal activity. But the use of air power in this kind of context, because in military and war study, we call all of this kind of war, we call them irregular war. Irregular war because they are not like the war between one state and another. For example, where you have a designated battleground, You can, like what is happening between Russia and Ukraine, for example, where you can, the boundary.
You can apply the Geneva
but
Convention, right? In
the
this regard, you
context
can
of
apply the Geneva Convention.
Yes, in the context of the war we are fighting in the northeast and northwest, there is no boundary. These people are mixed with the local population. If you bombard them, in most cases, you are going to be engaging yourself in what we call friendly fire, because you will be firing the very people that you are supposed to be, providing security for. So, buying those kind of Tucano and all of those is not an automatic guarantee that you will defeat terrorists. But I think at that time, government was just trying to play to the gallery, for me, even when it was said that time, I think that it was not necessary, because you don't deploy or count deploy your arsenal or mention your arsenal to the very enemy you are going to be fighting with. The secrecy of the arsenal you have is part of the war strategy. But I didn't think that government needed to go and boast that we have bought because insurgents also listen to televisions and radios. So they know what you are doing. Insurgents will not come to this thing to say this is what we have acquired to fight government. But
perhaps they have some moles. They may have some moles even in the military. Even in the military.
Go and be the to tell them and do that.
Yes, of course. We've had reports several times of espionage, while of course planting moles in the military. Anytime the military prepares for a massive attack swiftly, before they get to the spot, the insurgents have, vanished. So you begin to surprise, how do they get information that the military is coming after them to their camp?
That can tell us only one thing, which is the security needs security itself.
Yeah, sure.
Is a strategic advantage, but it does not guarantee that you are going. It does not give you the guarantee that you are going to win. The insurgent. There are still a lot of things that need to be done before you can win. And this is why a lot of people always said, see, it is better for you not to begin insurgency at all, not to have terrorists or insurgency in your. But the moment it has started, it will be very difficult to
very difficult, yeah.
And I think this is what we are witnessing in Nigeria today.
Because when the Chibok girls, the kidnap of Chibok girls, it started like a joke. Before you know it, we begin to hear things like IPOP, and it evolves to ISWAP. Then we are now having farmers and herders clash all around, and it has been going on and on without end. So I want to know what's the parts of the citizens in this, because you have been mentioning the government. So what role does individuals or the citizens of this country have to play to enable that we have a good security in Nigeria? Because all we have been saying is government. We have to know our role and play it well
as citizens.
I think that let me use this illustration. Where two elephants are fighting, the grass there suffers. The citizens here are the grasses that are suffering where two elephants are fighting. And you will understand when I use this. Now, let me give some a typical example of what happened. In last month, if you recall, Boko Haram attacked a place called Darul Salam or something, somewhere in Borno State.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, and why did not ISWAP, it was Boko Haram.
Yeah.
Boko Haram. Yeah. Why did Boko Haram attack that place? Boko Haram attacked them because he said they are giving information about them to the military.
To the military.
Now, so the people are trying to do their own, patriotic duty. Now, if they also give information about, or they even refuse to give information about the military to Boko Haram, the people will also be attacked. So the people are like the grasses now. So I think that we should even have pity on the people that are saying what should be their role. Because if we say their role is to give intelligence information to the security people, if they give intelligence information to the security people for them to act, what happens? Who provides security for them when Boko Haram come to attack them? In that attack that we talk about over, I think about 60 or over 100 people were killed simply because they said they give intelligence information to the security about Boko Haram. So I think that the people are already, the environment for them to play their own role, which is to give information to the people, to the police or to the soldier or to the security personnel, is very difficult for them to play.
So with what you're saying now, it means that the security itself is very, very weak.
Very weak.
Yes. So the people are in between the deep blue sea and the devil. It's a very difficult.
Quite unfortunate
the security, the landscape, the insecurity landscape in Nigeria does not give them the same thing with the Northwest. If you look at the most time, why do communities, why are they summarily kidnapped by kidnappers? Is because sometimes the bandits perceive them to be giving information about
informants
them, or seem to be
because of time. Let's look at the states are beginning to produce other security parastatals like the Hadinkai. We have the Anyamyo in Benue and some others in various states. So how do you think these people are helping? What's their impact? Because it's what you're saying is the people were attacked because they gave information to the military, and states are beginning to raise security parastatals like the Hadinke and a lot of others in various states. So what's their importance, and how do you think they can be helpful in this society?
To further reiterate her question, the need for state policing,
I think that states are coming. Hadinkai is a security operation, that has been put in. I think is just a different metamorphosis from Operation Lafia Dole, that get itself into Hadinkai that we have today. But what I have to say to this is that if we understand the nature of security management in Nigeria, most of the security functions are performed by the federal government. That's why you see that it is federal government that control the police, federal government control the army, the states and local governments, they are by themselves in their own role too. They are chief security officers of their states and local government. But the Constitution does not give them, portfolio. Yes, they have portfolio, they have security responsibility to play, but there is no power to play that security responsibility.
They are limited.
Because
they are limited in terms of controlling.
They don't have any police that they can. Nigeria does not allow. Nigerian Constitution does not allow for state police, and that is why, since they have security duty for their own people, what they are trying to do now by all of these things is to now form small local, police, voluntary police that they can deploy to provide security for their own people. And I think they are trying to, live up to their responsibility of providing security, beyond what the Constitution provides for them to do.
Yes,
I think that this is very, very dangerous because the problem with that, is that when you have unofficial, unconstitutional, security arrangement like this, like we have in the Northwest, in the Southwest, they have this Amotekun that does not have any base within the Constitution. We have the Ebubiagu in you know, and then in the northwest here too, you have, in the northeast here too, you have a lot of
The
vigilante
civilian
organizations
jet
like
here.
And then the
Hunters
Anya
Association,
in Benue State as
Civilian
well.
Joint Task Force, that work hand in hand with state governors most time. Now, the problem is that all of these can be used for political purposes.
That is it. That is the fear.
So
That is the fear that people have allayed.
and if this is coming, it has this tendency of plummeting the security, challenges in the states. So this will lead me to what I'm going to say now, that part of the solution that we should also be looking at should be state police.
State police.
Let the states also have their own police that the constitution will recognize. I think this is very important. The discussion around this has come up before, but I think it is dying down. Before we know it, nobody will talk about it.
Maybe the reason why it is dying down.
The security challenge that we are having now, state police, the discussion around state police should dominate our discussion.
Absolutely, absolutely. Besides, governors are being given what is known as security vote, so they could have used that opportunity and that vote that they don't account for.
Governors are very rich now.
Yes.
There is no state that will tell me that they don't have
account for security vote. They don't account for ecological funds. All they do is just making use of this money. Anyway, Dr. Said Owonikoko from Center for Peace and Security Studies, Modibo Adama University, I want to thank you most sincerely for finding time to be part of the show. It's an ongoing conversation, and of course, Good Morning Africa will engage you again, more often, such kind of conversation. Thank you most sincerely once again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Said, for joining us.
Thank you.
So do have a lovely day.
All right. Of course, that's a conversation, with Dr. Said Owonikoko, Center for Peace and Security Studies, Modibo Adama University. That's about what we can take on Good Morning Africa. Thank you so very much for being with us from start of finish. Join us again tomorrow for the fresh edition of the program. Until then, stay safe. My name is Chris Jacobs. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much for tuning in to Good Morning Africa. And for this episode and subsequent episode, you can watch us on Housing TV Africa. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Housing TV Africa, and you can follow us on all our social media handles. And don't forget to download the Housing TV app on your Google Play Store and Apple Store. Many thanks for watching. I am Mimi Tondo. Bye for now.